What's up, YouTube? It's your girl, Sage Valentine. How have you guys been? I have been fantastic, even though I sound so hoarse. Last weekend, I went to New York Comic Con and I attended the Walking Dead panel. It was like a double feature panel of Walking Dead and Walking Dead Series 3. So that whole weekend consisted of a lot of walking, standing, yelling, and cheering. And I think it's finally caught up to me, along with the tiredness as well. I also saw the movie Joker today, which was pretty good in my opinion. I do think Joaquin Phoenix should get an Oscar because he is a method actor, but not a creepy method actor. So it is what it is. But let's get down to business. Let's get down to chat about my favorite thing in the world besides Big Brother. AMC's The Walking Dead. I cannot believe the show made it to its 10th season and it was renewed for an 11th season, which is even more epic to be. Also, this is my first review on this phone because my other phone decided to act foolish once the new phones came out, as it always does. So I had to get a new phone, much to the chagrin of a lot of people I know who were trying to say my phone was okay. I'm like, no, the battery was dying really fast. Something Apple does a lot. I don't know why they do it. I really don't. I don't know if Android has that problem. Let me know if they have that problem, but Apple does that a lot. Yeah. So let's get down to this review of Season 10, Episode number 1, entitled Lines We Cross. And boy, did they cross some lines in this episode. So it was really cute to hear Judith's voice on the previously on the Walking Dead segment. I think that Kelly Fleming is the most adorable little kid ever. I'm glad that she's a little kid. I'm glad that Judith is alive in the TV series because I really didn't like her story arc in the comics. That's as far as I'll go with that. But I like Judith being a leader, being somebody who can kick butt and take names at such a young age. You know, when I watched the first scene with that satellite, I didn't understand it at first. I was like, what the hell is going on with this satellite? And then after seeing it again and again, it finally made sense. So I'm like, okay, I get it. I guess it's a connection to Fear the Walking Dead because of the radiation mentioned later on in the episode. And remember, there was a whole radiation story arc in Fear the Walking Dead. If you haven't already watched Fear the Walking Dead, that's as far as I'll go with that. I won't spoil that for you unless you want me to. Then we'll go ahead. I really like the opening scene with the us versus walker sequence, especially with Judith as the first one to kill a walker. I love her entrances in this part of the series. She's amazing. I like how everybody kept popping up, all the familiar faces and the new faces. I thought that was awesome. The fight choreography was fantastic. And seeing Michonne slice and dice everything made my day, as it always does. It's cool to see that the story is continuing on despite the fact that Rick is no longer there. All those characters died, such as Henry and Enid and Henry, Enid, Tara, and so on and so forth. And I like how there's a bunch of new characters popping up. I always like seeing new characters. Maybe it's the writer in me. A lot of people are just like, I only care about the main characters. I don't really give a crap about the tertiary characters. Hey, whatever floats your boat. But I like all the characters. So the mention of Tara pulled at my heartstrings because I do miss Tara. I did have a chance to meet Alana Masterson. She's really, really nice. I went to a Walker Stalker Con. If you ever get a chance to go, Atlanta is going to be the last one and the only one left because they're disbanding all the rest of them because of some issues. But go to Atlanta if you get a chance. And even if you stay for one day, you will enjoy it. I like the scene with Michonne and Daryl bonding, RJ and Judith and Jerry's kids all playing together. It was so cute. Those were 2 out of Jerry's 3 kids because remember, Nabila had a baby. I don't know how much of a time jump this is versus last season. I can't wait till they finally explain that because they really didn't talk about that. And then we see Judith and the kids locate a Whisperer's mask, covered by the sand, like it washed up, as they said in this episode, from someplace else. I don't think it washed up, though. I think it was put there on purpose. Because just because Alpha said don't cross her borders didn't mean Alpha and them didn't cross into Oceanside's borders. And I do like the new opening credits as well. The only thing that kind of confused me were the names of the different scenes. Like this first scene, Skin, I was just like, okay, it has to do with the face skin, and then they locate the body skin, which is a nod to the comics because the Whisperers, for the most part, end up skinning the walkers and putting those body skins on them to camouflage themselves completely. Because for the TV show, you kind of see the mask where they use like the walkers' faces. You don't really see the full body. Now they're showing us the full body thing. I liked how that was kind of like from the point of view of Michonne and Aaron's part of the story. Michonne says that they really don't need to start a panic as far as the body skin, and the facial skin at this point, because it'll just cause unneeded drama. And Aaron believes that they should, and for the first time, I'm on Aaron's side. I think that they should be on high alert. Aaron, later on in that scene, wonders if they are the good guys versus the villains. That whole theme keeps popping up. Robert Kirkman, Scott Gimple have talked about that previously. And at first I was just like, why is this important? Then I started thinking about that, if the story was told from a different perspective, our heroes would be seen as the villains and not as the heroes that they are. If you think about it. Take out all the rest and you think about it, it would be a completely different story if it was told from, say, from the Terminites and from the folks that lived with the governor and the Saviors and the Whisperers and so on and so forth. Michonne's like, she doesn't give a crap about the Whisperers, and Aaron's just like, it's not just about the Whisperers. I'm talking about to all these groups that we've come across. So then Luke, Yumiko, Magna are also riding as well, but they're on a different path. And there's no sign of the Whisperers, but there's a small herd that Aaron just runs to gung-ho. And I'm worried about Aaron because whenever they put a character in danger, I sit down and I count in my head how many times this character is going to be in danger before they die. And I'm very worried about Aaron. And people will say, well, at this point in the comic book, but the show is not necessarily following the comic books with a straight line. So at any time, any character can be kaput at any time. So Aaron gets caught up by one walker, and I'm just like, goodness gracious, they're going to kill him off soon. I hope I'm wrong. So Michonne is upset because she was like, dude, we agreed not to go into Alpha's borders after everything that happened. She's like, you could have died. And Aaron's like, this is not normal. Everything that they're doing is just not normal. And I started thinking about Michonne and Aaron and how they have something in common. They both lost people that they love. And that's how they can bond. And I liked their bond in last season because of the fact that everybody was mad at Michonne. And then those two bonded together, and Aaron was not really on her side, but he was there for her. And apparently the Whisperers have a nuclear weapon. I don't recall this happening in the comic book, but I'm not surprised this version of Alpha would have a nuclear weapon. She is way scarier than the comic book Alpha. So then Yumiko, Magna, and Luke show Michonne and Aaron an impromptu camp that they believe that the Whisperers were staying at first. But that's not what they wanted to show Aaron and Michonne. No, they wanted to show them the dead campers, the skeletons, and this decomposing man who's been there for a while, and a skin, like a walker skin, because the Whisperers wear skins in the comics. So apparently, like I just said, the Whisperers crossed the border but told Michonne and them not to. Well, Michonne and Aaron are talking later on. Michonne's like, listen, we have to choose to be the good guys even when it's hard. And as soon as we start questioning it, the answer starts to change. And I like that. And I'm paraphrasing what she said. So Michonne overhears this story of Judith telling RJ the story of the brave man, aka Rick, and I thought that was so cute. Kudos to the writer, because that was adorable. It was a cute way to explain that to RJ. But RJ hasn't put 2 and 2 together yet. He doesn't know that the brave man was obviously Rick. It was really sad, not gonna lie. The first time I saw it on AMC premiere, it made me teary-eyed, I will say that. And I love Michonne telling RJ and Judith that she would do anything for them, that she is their mother, and I'm glad that Michonne was made into the motherly figure that she was to Carl. Because even though Carl lost his mother, Lori will always be his mother. Michonne became like a makeshift mom/friend for him when he needed it. So all of a sudden, everybody sees this burning, fiery thing falling from the sky, which is obviously that Russian satellite thing. And then we hear Michonne is called by Rachel because Eugene wants to talk to her. Then the next one is called Bird Wisdom. And it's a story from Alexandria's perspective. We see Rosita and Eugene dealing with Coco, and Rosita, getting back into fighting shape. Eugene is being so responsible, charting Coco's growth, doing all this stuff, caring for her and being Mr. Mom, and I think it's really cute. Father Gabriel tells Sadiq, Eugene, and Rosita what he heard on the, the CB radio, which he's been on a lot, apparently. And I don't think we get to hear what he says, though, but you can tell that's what he's going to say. Then we see that Lydia's having trouble learning how to read because when everybody else was learning during the zombie apocalypse, she was out there surviving with the Whisperers. Part of me believes if episode 2 goes the way that I think it's going to go, they're probably going to reveal that dark story arc that makes the whole Negan wife situation look tame. That's all I'm going to say to you. They might not, they may twist it up, but it's going to come out, and I've been waiting for this part. And little Gracie is the one that corrects her with that word, and that was so cute. And the teacher there, she tries to be so kind, but Lydia is just completely done with this. And then they all get kicked out of the schoolhouse. I think that's also the church or the chapel, because a meeting has to be held about the scan and that whole situation. Well, it's cool that Lydia and Negan have something in common because they're both outcasts because of the things that they were involved in. Stuff that Negan did, the stuff that Lydia adjacently did. They both are outsiders. It's cool that Negan has a green thumb and he's like, I can think of him in like a straw hat with flowers as like the gardening lady. Lydia tells Negan about the skin that was found at Oceanside. And Negan's kind of asking her, what is like the threat level? And Lydia's like, dude, you've been here longer than me, so what the heck does it mean? Then we get to the part of Sadiq, and he's with Coco. He's dealing with Coco, and he starts having these PTSD flashbacks. He has some serious survivor's remorse. I'm glad that the show is showing it. They're not shining over it. They're not glossing over it. They're showing it to us. Because obviously he would feel that way, considering the fact that he is the only person out of that group that Alpha allowed to live. Then Dante comes in. Dante is a brand new character. He was also in the comics. And he comes to see Sadiq because Coco is crying so much she's howling, and he wanted to see what was going on. Dante is revealed to be another doctor, and you know how it goes when there's more than one doctor in more than one place. Hopefully it doesn't turn out the way it's been turning out, whereas one doctor dies, the other one lives. Hopefully we get Dante a little bit longer, because there can only be one. Sadiq keeps having a flashback and seeing Alpha looking at him, and I kind of like Dante. I like his crazy, crappy humor. Anyway, we see Father Gabriel and Negan chat. Negan talks about how things have changed for him. He wants to keep his head down and out of the way. He doesn't want to be seen as the enemy because things are changing and people are looking for a boogeyman. He doesn't want to be that boogeyman. He said the Father Gabriel, if anything, should lie to everybody else about this situation to keep these people alive. And I hate to say it, but I agree with Negan, because if they tell them, there's going to be pandemonium. And Father Gabriel tells everyone when he leaves after talking to Negan that they need to lock the gates and double up on security. And then they see the falling fiery thing, which is obviously that Russian satellite. They don't know it's a satellite. So then we get to the chapter known as Seadogs, and it's the story involving Daryl. And we learn that Kelly is losing her hearing. And I really like her bond with Connie, who is there for her. And she tells Kelly that this loss of hearing is not a disability, it is a superpower. And Kelly's more worried for Connie, and Connie's worried about Kelly. I love how they have this sisterhood, despite just knowing each other because of their travels. Now, Daryl and Ezekiel are cool with one another. A lot of people online were talking about how, they were going to butt heads and they were going to fight. So I'm glad they changed that and pushed that to the side, and they seem to be getting along. Daryl and Connie are very close, and they have a cool, friendship, whatever's going on with them. And I like how Dog really likes Connie. And apparently Daryl signs with a southern accent. I didn't know that was possible, but anything is possible. So we see Carol returning on a boat like Michonne did in the comics. And Carol and Ezekiel are, of course, not together, but they seem to be all right. They have a rapport. And Carol and Daryl are besties. That's how I see them, and they have a good bond. Carol talks about how her work on the boat she was on was hard work. She didn't see any letters from Maggie at the other, not outpost, the other dock or whatever. Carol was kind of looking for Maggie, even though she tells Daryl she was not. And Carol really said that she left because she was trying to forget what happened. So it must have been a couple months since that time. She said that she's only staying until the next boat leaves. But after what I saw in the last scene of this episode, I think Carol's staying a lot longer. Carol and Daryl decide that they're going to head to the border of the Oceanside area to kind of hunt. And I like their scene together. Then the scene shifts and we get to a scene called New Mexico. Daryl was hunting a deer, and the deer went across the border, and Carol was mad because Daryl refused to go and get that deer because I guess a truce was made. We didn't see this truce, if memory serves. And Michonne agreed, and the rest agreed not to cross the border, and Carol wants to. So clearly Carol's going to do this at some point later on in the story. And the Walkers had a nice deer dinner. Carol wonders why they are respecting the borders when Alpha isn't even there. But we learned that was not true. And I knew it wasn't true before we even learned it. Because I'm like, Alpha's there. She can see you. You just can't see her. That's the one thing I like about that character. So Carol asks, Daryl if he wonders if this whole fighting to survive thing is all there is. And Daryl's like, sometimes I think that all we're doing is fighting to survive. Daryl believes that there are more people out there, which is a nod to the other series and where the story is going to go. It's kind of like a little Easter egg. Like these other series, 3, 4, and 5, are all going to reflect, and maybe Daryl and Carol might go off and appear in another series. That's what I'm thinking. You guys might have a different perspective on it. Leave me a comment below and tell me what you think. Carol says she wants Daryl to come with her, either on the boat with her or on his bike. Daryl suggests that they take the bike and run to New Mexico to see who is left and what's out there. And then he gives her a friendship bracelet that he made while they're talking. And then we see the fiery thing falling from the sky. Then we get to the final chapter, which is the lines we cross. And in that, we see the folks at Oceanside gathering together to put out that fire that apparently is slightly on the border, slightly over the border near where Alpha and her people are. And it literally takes all night to fight this fire. And the walkers come to the area because of the sound and the water and the fire. And they got to deal with them as well. And Ezekiel's really pushing himself really hard. I feel like him being winded and stuff and pushing himself hard is an omen for a possible death later. I know you're probably saying, Sage Valentine, you're watching these episodes and you're just thinking all these people are going to die. I don't know what these writers are going to do. I really don't. So I'm trying to guess and see how it's going to go, but I really don't know what they're going to do, to be completely honest. And I'm worried about it. So later on in the season, morning comes, everybody's out of water, and it's time to battle the walkers. Then we move to another scene called Embers. I really like the battle scene. Everybody was kicking butt and taking names. Carol uses a bleeding walker to put out some of the fire. I think she does it by accident. She doesn't know it's going to work, but that was a good idea by the writers. Then we see Michonne and Daryl have like little tiny like shots of them kicking butt and taking names. It's pretty epic in my opinion. Then the aftermath, we see it. Everyone's trying to leave, and Eugene starts talking about how he wants to take out the tech that's within the satellite, which will come in handy later on, which also, in my opinion, after seeing and hearing about the third series in The Walking Dead at the New York Comic Con panel, I think that this is an Easter egg for that third series, which I'll talk about before I end this video. Anyway, Eugene believes there's valuable tech inside of the satellite, and Michonne's like, we need to go. Then she's like, fine, you get about 5 minutes to move this, and she tells some of the others to come and help Eugene move the satellite. Luke asks about the radiation, which to me was a nod to Fear the Walking Dead. The last season, I believe that was season 5. Could be wrong, but I think that was season 5, right? 13, 14, okay, 14. Yeah, season 5. And if you haven't seen that already, go watch the last season and you'll understand about the radiation thing. And Luke is right. There is a lot of radiation coming out of that satellite, but that's the last thing they got to worry about with the Whisperers and what will happen with their impending death. And it was funny that Eugene, in his merry way, basically said the same thing. Like, that's the last thing we need to be worried about at this point. Then Michonne and Aaron are talking, and Aaron like, you know, Eugene is right. This tech could help us. It could help the Whisperers. Michonne's like, listen, we are worried about us. The heck with Alpha at this point, because that's how Alpha feels as well. And then Michonne wonders where Carol and Daryl went. Daryl asks Carol in the next part of the scene that maybe she should stay and not go on and move on and whatever. So all of a sudden, Daryl kind of walks off, and Carol turns around and she looks down, and she sees at a lower point, because there's like a big space, like a big like ravine, canyon, whatever you call it, between the two mountains. And Alpha looks up at her, and she looks down at Alpha, which could be a nod to a battle that's going to happen later on between the two. I don't know, but it seems like that to me. And I kind of hope that they don't, because part of me is getting this weird feeling that we may lose Carol in this season because of the way that she was talking. And anytime somebody talks about like going off and doing something else in the world outside, that character ends up getting killed off. I know that when Noah was talking about what he wanted to do and everything else, and then he ended up getting killed, like, that's worrying me. If I'm wrong, I'll be very happy, but that is worrying me. But that's it as far as episode 1 of season 10 of AMC's The Walking Dead. As for the third Walking Dead series, it's basically a coming-of-age series taking place about 10 years after everything that's happening right now in Walking Dead, right now in this whole timeline. The kids in this series decide they're going to go off and they're going to venture out. We really didn't get a story as to why they were venturing out, but they're going to venture out and see how everything's going. And they're kind of fish out of water because they grew up during the zombie apocalypse, but they never had to fight a walker. They really don't know what walkers look like, and they're just like being teenagers, young people being kids. It is what it is. But let me know what you thought of episode 1 of season 10. Let me know what you think of the idea of all these new adaptations, and if you want to just generally talk about Walking Dead, leave me some comments. And yeah, I'll be back to do another review next week for episode number 2, and I'll be going live again on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. I believe that is the 15th. I'll be going live then, so we can chat all about The Walking Dead. Check me out on Instagram, SageValentine84, Facebook, SageValentine84, Twitter, SageValentine, and TV Co, SageValentine84. I love you all. Take care, and see you next time. Peace out, guys. Bye, guys. Love you all. Bye.